Policewomen is a 1979 action copsploitation film from director Lee Frost. The movie opens with Officer Lacey Bond bringing in an arrest. She goes to put her into a holding cell when the girls make a break for it. Lacey isn't standing for that, so she beats the ever-living crap out of anyone who tries to get past her. This girl even locks herself back up to avoid the ass-kicking. 3 of the criminals barricade themselves inside of a laundry room. They dig through the baskets and find an arsenal, proving that this was an inside job. 3 minutes in and gratuitous nudity. Exploitation at its finest. These cops are the worst. Don't break down the flimsy door and apprehend the slightly armed criminals. Just stand around until they escape.
Ready. You better start running, say goodbye to your asses.
Does this grenade have like a 5-minute timer on it? Okay, make sure everyone is clear, okay? The criminals followed up with some tear gas and they put on gas masks to escape. The stupid cops sit around complaining about the gas while Lacey goes after the crooks. So essentially, 1 female cop single-handedly stopped a prison break and only 2 got away. All this while wearing a skirt and heels. Awesome. Lacey gets a call to Inspector Mattel about the prison incident. Of course, the fat cop is being a douchebag.
Would you like to take your coat off, honey?
Ah, the 70s. It wasn't sexual harassment, it was a way of life.
What's the matter, honey? Is that jail duty a little too tough for you?
The inspector wants to put Lacey undercover to investigate a female crime syndicate. Officer Mitchell thinks this is a bad idea. Wait a minute, Officer Mitchell?
My God, no!
The inspector wants Lacey to run through the police obstacle course to prove she's up for the task.
Hey, that's a good idea. Let's run her through the course, then we'll all know exactly what she's capable of.
She's a girl, she can't do nothing. Naturally, Lacey proceeds to annihilate every task they throw at her.
Flashing Lieutenant, move your car forward at 65 miles per hour. Slide to your right and proceed in your original direction.
Or just go really fast and then do a spin out. They introduce her to Officer Bill Pornstash, the karate expert. Bill roughhouses her until she turns the tables and proceeds to give him a solid ass whooping.
How's your lip?
I'm really sorry.
You gonna need stitches?
No. Well, maybe a couple.
Really? Oh, shit.
I'm sorry.
Look, you already said that.
You know what's missing from modern soundtracks? A xylophone. The cops explain that there's been a group of female smugglers that are bringing in massive amounts of gold to the U.S., and they need her to investigate. Since her last name is Bond, they give her a bunch of gadgets to use while undercover. A radio compact. Also, a GPS lighter that calls in the cops to her location if she's ever in an emergency.
Well, is there anything else?
Well, it looks like you're on your own, sweetheart.
Apparently, on your own means hanging out with 3 cops. Mitchell tells Lacey about how they're investigating a 70-year-old lady named Maud Anderson and her 30-year-old husband, Doc. These cops aren't very good at their job. Hey, let's have a stakeout directly in front of the house we're investigating. No wonder they've had no luck with this case. One of the crooks drives by but sees the cops, so she takes off. Before you engage in a high-speed pursuit, it is imperative to put on your sunglasses. Did I say high-speed chase? I meant leisurely Sunday drive. Try as she might, the crook just can't seem to pass this elderly couple driving well below the speed limit. The criminal veers off the road, and I guess she was carrying a payload of active C4 because the car explodes like a bomb. The police are investigating the crash. Well, it sure is chilly out today. Lacey has finally had it and lays into Officer Peters. Another car makes its way into the compound carrying the escaped girls from the beginning of the movie. I'm amazed they had enough room in the trunk for that fro. The girls meet Maud, the one who orchestrated the escape. Sitting around counting your money and drugs out in the open, even though you know you're being watched by the police? Not really the best idea. Girls in bikinis fighting and playing volleyball? 1970s DOA. Got some hardcore racial tension here.
Blacks are lazy, and they spill their guts when they get caught. Blacks have sore feet and big asses.
Why, honey, I don't understand your attitude. I've always said nice things about Goose.
Pam and Kim get into a knockdown, drag-out fight. The crypt keeper thinks this is very exciting. Pam nearly kills Kim until Maud stops her and offers her a job in the gang. We do not need this camera angle. Doc comes in to tell Maud, come on, can't somebody invent looser shorts? Doc's acting could use a little work.
Then somebody on that stakeout up front picks her up and starts to chase. Somehow she drives off a cliff, and Susan and the heroine get blown all to hell. Now, Ma, I told you, I warned you, we use these stupid bitches like Mrs. Susan. Broads with police records. They're nothing but a bunch of whores. They get spotted, they get picked up. Now, she obviously panicked, Maud.
Okay, a lot of work. The cops finally do something smart and set up a surveillance camera on the compound. Doc's making a pass at Maud.
What do you say I go in and take me a quick shower? And you and me knock off a little nut out.
Excuse me, I just threw up in my mouth a little. One of the girls makes a pass at Doc.
Besides, I haven't been out of this house for over a month.
Being locked up in a house for a month would make a woman this desperate? Doc looks like the deformed offspring of Hulk Hogan and Terry Bradshaw. On a tip, Mitchell and Lacey head to Catalina acting as a vacationing couple. They go on the longest date in recorded history. I'm not even kidding, look at this. They go bike riding, go-kart riding, boat riding, horseback riding, sailboating, swimming, all in one afternoon. That night, Mitchell makes a horrible pass at Lacey.
I cannot tell you what a head trip it is to want to go to bed with a trained killer.
And it works?
Chauvinist that you are, you're making the grand assumption that you have the capabilities to overly excite me. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll set your mind at ease. I'll make love to you, and I promise to be gentle.
I think their sex caused the soundtrack to skip. Afterwards, Mitchell confides in Lacey.
See, I was the neighborhood sissy.
I would say he's still the neighborhood sissy. The next day, he's drinking tab? Yep, still the sissy. They notice a bunch of girls taking a boat out, so they follow them. The girls are headed out for a drop, but they notice the cops, so they call it off. One of the girls recognizes Mitchell.
I know that motherfucker. He's the man. He busted me 3 times a few years back.
Then they really were tailing us.
Bet your ass.
I wonder what they know.
Yes, I wonder what they know. The girls try to ram the boat, but Mitchell jumps on board. They beat the hell out of him for wearing such an awful jacket. Lacey jumps on board to help. How exactly did she do this? Her boat was over there, and then she just walks on board? Who cares? It's been far too long since Lacey had to kick anyone's ass. I'm not even exaggerating. She really kicks this girl's ass. She wipes out the rest of the girls, and they call the cops in to arrest them. Maud flies to Catalina to find out what happened to her shipment of gold.
Look, is it okay if Pam and I go into town for a while, look around?
Just keep your weights and glasses on so nobody will spot you.
Yeah, no one's gonna notice a 6-foot-tall, statuesque blonde in a bikini and a cowboy hat. Lacey asks this guy for info, and he's sort of, not exactly sure what he's doing.
Thanks, I'd appreciate it.
You bet.
Doc sets up another shipment. So an hour into the movie, and Lacey finally convinces the cops to let her go undercover, even though that's exactly what they hired her to do in the first place. Lacey tells Maud's gang she found the boat in an attempt to get into the group. Doc then proceeds to knock the shit out of her. Oh, I can't wait for his inevitable beating. He really is hateable. Pam and Jeanette show up and they recognize Lacey. She convinces them that she was in the prison with them, which is why they recognize her. Maud offers her a job. For someone who's supposed to have done this whole crime thing for a while, she makes a lot of mistakes. Pam, Lacey, and Jeanette go into town to get some dinner. Jeanette finally remembers Lacey's a cop. She then figures out that Pam's a cop too. Jeanette runs to tell Maud, but Pam stops her and drops her off a cliff.
Hey, Cat!
Pam tells Lacey she's Secret Service undercover investigating Maud. The next day, they head out for the drop. Roll the submarine stock footage. They pick up the shipment the sub dropped off. We really need Doc in little pants again. The girls empty the boat out of the vessel. This seems incredibly inefficient for what's supposed to be a super effective criminal organization. Since we just saw Doc in Wet and Nut Huggers, the movie makes it up to us by showing the girls strip and put on army uniforms. Lacey turns on her transmitter, but it comes through Doc's walkie-talkie. Doc figures out where it's coming from and knocks out Lacey and Pam.
What do you want to do with them, Maud?
We'll be coming to some cliffs pretty soon. We'll shove them out the truck.
Lacey beats up Doc and Pam knocks out Maud. The girls then take over the trucks. Another very low-speed chase scene. Kim tries to run away, but Lacey goes after her. Kim tries to fight back, but it doesn't go so well. Mitchell tells Lacey that since this mission was such a success, the department has another that they want to send them on.
Let's get out of here.
They're gonna go have sex. Policewomen was filmed on a tiny budget back in 1974. Director Lee Frost is well versed in the art of exploitation. With such films as House on Bear Mountain, Chain Gang Women, and Love Camp 7, which was one of the original video nasties, a group of films considered so offensive that they were banned in the UK. Policewomen was originally titled Policewoman, which made more sense since it really was about one female police officer. However, the TV show Policewoman, starring Angie Dickinson and Earl Holliman, was set to air around the same time, so they had to change the name. The movie was filmed in 48 frames per second instead of the usual 24 frames per second, which is why it has that TV show look. Kinda funny to think that the same thing that The Hobbit is being praised for is something that a little exploitation film from the 70s was being bashed for. The giant tough guy actor William Smith had a small role as the karate instructor. He's mostly known for playing villains, with arguably his biggest role being the brawler who got into the huge fistfight with Clint Eastwood in Any Which Way You Can. He also played Conan's father in the original Conan the Barbarian. While the movie is incredibly campy, the major reason it works is the stunning Sandra Curry, who played Lacey. This fiery redhead had the right mix of sarcasm, strength, and good looks that completely baffled the other men in the movie.
You know, we do a few basic moves and dazzle.
Gee, thanks, Mr. McLarty.
So what now?
You can stop asking me that if you like.
But Frank, you're handling this.
Even Mitchell, her love interest in the film, was afraid to go to bed with her for fear that she would beat the shit out of him. Saunders, the sister of Sherry Carey, the lead singer of the all-girl rock band The Runaways. Curry starred in tons of TV and movies over the years. Everything from The Incredible Hulk to Three's Company, and most recently, she's been in all 3 of the Hangover movies. Oddly enough, she was even in an episode of Policewoman. While the movie is immensely entertaining, the whole thing is kind of unusual for a 70s exploitation. Usually these types of films revolve around rape, revenge, or women in prison scenarios. Or in modern exploitation, you end up with movies like Naked Encounters. This, on the other hand, had a sarcastic, take-no-shit female cop that constantly outperformed everything her male counterparts could do. She was smarter, stronger, and good grief was she sexy. She even ended up rescuing the male lead from getting his ass kicked. Yes, they did play up the sex angle by having her nude in her very forced love scene, but in a way, it felt more like a James Bond sex scene where it's almost required. Speaking of Bond, it's obvious they were trying to go the female secret agent route with all the gadgets and the undercover work. However, for whatever reason, they just never went all in with it. At the end, Mitchell and Lacey were setting off for their next assignment. Perhaps they were setting it up to do more with the sequel, but that never happened. The movie's also full of hilarious dialogue.
You just learned a lesson, girls. Nobody gives a shit what happens to a Volkswagen.
That the lip isn't as bad as the broken tooth.
Oh, she broke my tooth.
I'm really sorry.
Well, you didn't have to break my tooth.
While the acting is occasionally bad, mostly from the villainous Doc, it doesn't detract from the film. If anything, it just adds to the overall campiness of the feature.
Every one of these cunts is nothing but trouble. That stupid bitch just about drove out here with a trunk full of heroin. Now, how would you like that, Maud, huh? How would you like that?
You're getting better.